Welcome back to the Full Court Press. AJ Nadamaje Salveson here on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM The Fan, 1069thefan.com, and on our free mobile app, 1069 The Fan. Utah State men's basketball season's already down the stretch. 2 games left to go and a big one tomorrow night inside the Spectrum against Colorado State, a team that is really top 25 caliber. And joining us here on the Full Court Press, lead assistant to the Utah State men's basketball staff, it is Nate Dixon here on the line. Coach, how are you?
Good. How are you guys?
We're good. Coach, big one tomorrow night, obviously. Colorado State seems to be a massive problem. 2 guys that are competing not only for a chance at a conference championship, but 2 guys on this team in Stevens and in Roddy who could be first-team All-Mountain West Conference. What have you seen out of the squad?
They're very good. I mean, obviously, their record speaks for itself. They've had a very good run. What are they, 23-5 or 22-4? I think they're 22-4 off the top of my head. And, with 4 losses, that's pretty good in a very, very, very tough Mountain West Conference. They've proven over and over that, they can excel in a lot of different areas. And, Roddy and has really stepped it up the last several games. I know he's a guy that you can go to, and they've got other guys. Stevens, Kendall Moore's actually starting to play different offensively, a little more aggressive late in the games, and it's pretty unique to watch them grow. I mean, Roddy's averaging. I'm looking here now. It's like 21 and a half. I think we talked about it yesterday in our meeting, and in the last 5 games, that's pretty good numbers. 21 and a half and like 7.5 rebounds. It's pretty good. So. They're 4-1 in those 5 games, and they've had a tough stretch. And, obviously they had a close game with Wyoming the other night at home, and, then they've had Boise. I mean, they've had a tough stretch, but you know what? We have too. So, the Mountain West is very challenging this year. They'll be a formidable opponent, and we look forward to it.
Coach, you had a close one with them the last time we played, 77-72 at their place. What were some of the things that have changed for Utah State and some of the things you've seen change for them now in this matchup, almost a month and a half later?
Well, they still are one of the, they don't turn the ball over. They're very good at that. They take care of the ball. They're very efficient on offense. They're one of the better couple of teams offensively in our league on number of points. Field goal percentage, it's above 50 on offense, and we both kind of compare. We're at like 52 or 53, and they're at like 52. We're basically a couple point percentages, tenths of a point, away from each other. But they're very good offensively. They're better defensively than a lot of people, numbers wise, give them credit for being. They really do a good job. I mean, they spread you. They're tough. The physicality of the game will certainly be an issue that we will have to contend to. And, when the ball goes up, we're going to have to, hold ground. And, we're going to have to fight Roddy in the post. And Roddy's been shooting a lot of threes and making threes, so that poses another challenge. So,
you guys get Brock Miller back. He played 13 minutes against New Mexico, went 1 of 3 from the field. I'm sure it was good to see him come back. What does he do for the squad on the court?
On the court, off the court, because obviously he's only played now in 2 games this conference season now with 2 left in the regular season. And, having him the first game go out, he didn't shoot the ball well. He didn't play Brock Miller like. But, he brings a level of just stretching the floor because, he can really shoot the ball when he's going. And he has confidence to shoot it, which helps our offense with spacing. But he's better defensively than people think. Brock just knows how to play. He knows how to use his angles. He knows how to use his strength. We've really missed him. Doesn't mean our other guys haven't stepped up, and it's helped our program. But getting him back, he's just a leader, on and off the court, doing the right things. Actually, his wife's due in the next week, to have their first child. And so he's got a lot on his plate. It's good to see and have him back. And, he's always smiling. He's a happy-go-lucky guy. He didn't know how much coach was going to play him the other night. He got 13 minutes, and, he really gave us a good boost. We need that right now. We've been up and down here lately, and we needed a good boost of energy, and he certainly gave it to us. And, we feel like he'll do the same thing here down the stretch. So,
Coach Dixon from Utah State men's basketball. Speaking of that up and down, Coach, what is the difference you've seen in your team, right? Because it's just kind of a roller coaster situation, right? You guys had all those close games, like single-digit scores, and he went on that streak, and now some of these games are starting to get away from you. What have you seen that's been the difference in the Aggies in those kind of 3 stretches?
Well, I tell you what, we've had a lot of injuries that people don't really think much about, and we don't try to dwell on them because, it's kind of next man up mentality with coach and the staff, and how he likes to do things. And you recruit kids or kids that are in your program. Obviously, we inherited a lot, and these guys are good kids. They work hard. They've got we just got to finish out at close games. I mean, I know going in to the Wyoming game 4 games ago, we were one of the last. We were 352 or 353 in luck. None of us really believe in luck. It's kind of like it's a weird statistic that I never looked at until I finally did there, because there's other teams in our league that are top 10 in the country in it. So, luck, I guess, is if you're supposed to win the game by 2, then you lose by 2 or whatever. It's a 1-basket game. But there was a point where there were 6 games that we had lost, and it was 21 points in the league. So, we've had our share of close ones, but we've also had our share of injuries or sicknesses. Brandon and Bean were out a little bit with some sickness before we played a league game 3 or 4 back. Weren't sure we were going to have him for the game. Riley goes out with a concussion. Brock's been out with a back. We've obviously had other injuries as well, but it's just a matter of, can you get everybody healthy and make a run here, in the conference tournament, or certainly here at the end of the season, try to, get on an upward swing going into it. So, we're excited. Last game was the first time we've had everybody back since the 1st of January. December 29th, Brock goes down. We haven't had everybody. We've been 1, 2, or 3 starters out the whole conference season until the other night. So,
Coach, another distraction for a player who's dealing with some adversity right now off the court, and that's Max Shulga with his family living in Ukraine and Ukraine going what they're going through. How is Max doing as a player, and how does the team try to comfort Max with his family so far away?
It's kind of funny. I think everybody in their own way has sent, Max messages or asked him at practice. I was actually with Max a little bit last night after practice, and he said, it's the first time he's really concerned a little bit. I think it's hit home now that it's in the national media differently, and you see, the lights lighting up, and certainly, obviously, the attacks going on TV is a little different than hearing the news that it could happen, or, it's headed that direction. So, we're praying for him. We've told him we're here for him. I know that the first time yesterday is, he did say, my family's safe. I do have concerns, obviously. We do for everyone in that country. But at the same time, it's hard for students and student athletes that are across the country in the U.S. here and having to watch that at home. But, he says they're safe. They're not. He told me last night, he said they're not seeing things, but they're hearing the noises. But he said they actually are all there. And so far, they're safe. And hopefully, God's will, things work out there. But we all need to pray for this. This kind of a scary time over there for everyone. So,
no, that's crazy. I mean, hard to stay focused, but Coach, as tough as it is, we move back to the basketball court. You guys, of course, got Colorado State tomorrow night. You close out with San Jose State. Then we're in the Mountain West tournament. And I'm curious, obviously, you and Coach Odom and that staff comes and you guys get brandished, and deservedly so, with that huge win in the March tournament. This Utah State program has had some real success the last few seasons in the Mountain West tournament. How do you combine kind of the veteran players who've been through it multiple times like Justin Bean with your guys' experience in terms of preparing for this new conference tournament for your staff?
Yeah, it's kind of unique. Last night, actually, I was on the phone with someone, and they said, Bean and Brock have been through it and won championships, and it's exactly right. That's kind of the point of your question. You got to rely on those guys to be leaders, and they certainly have been all year. And, whether it's on the court, off the court, in practice, in film, in scouting, they really, seem to lock in with this group. And I think the group is excited because they know that we have a lot of potential. Now we just got to put the potential on the scoreboard here. The last, 2 to plus games here, obviously we got into the tournament, and, we've got to find a way to close games in tight situations. We've got to find a way to take care of the ball. We've got to find a way to get a stop when we need it. And I think that, their experience having won a lot of games in that tournament and actually in a tournament setting, they had a success a few years ago down in Jamaica. We were actually there when we were at UMBC in the other bracket and the other side. And, they had success there. They've had success, obviously, we did in Myrtle Beach this year, and COVID obviously, put a damper on some tournaments last year overall. But these guys have won, in those type settings. They understand what it takes, and, Coach will do a great job. He always does in preparing, and it's just one game at a time. You win, you advance, and you can't worry about the next game. You worry about the one at hand and the one that you have that day, and prepare the best you can for it and give the best effort. And, we'll be looking forward to what we can do, with a setting like that, because we've had success, and we've got leaders, and we got a team and a coach that really is looking forward to it. So,
I know you're a no excuse kind of a team and a no excuse kind of a coaching staff as well, but the free throw disparity on the road has been very significant. Both at Boise and Wyoming combined, you gave up 60 free throws. And credit to your team and your squad, you guys still hung in those games and kept it close. I don't know how else to ask this question, Coach, but do you guys feel like you got respect from the Mountain West Conference, from the officials, or do you feel like that's something you have to earn still?
Well, I just think in general, if we're on the other side of it, we feel better or different, and I think that you just have to, as a coaching staff, you have to figure out ways not to foul. We've talked a lot about it. Coaches really, put an emphasis on that, and not getting our hands in at times, and, using our chest more, which are, things that we need to do better that other teams are doing. And, all you can do is do your best, try to do what we're about. We certainly need to limit those fouls and putting guys on the foul line, and, but we've also got to be able to draw them ourselves, and, with the way the game's flowing, there's certainly, an oddness to the flop call that's being called, on both ends, for us or any team in our league. That flop call's kind of taken away some things with people feeling like they can take a charge or put their body in there. So sometimes those are, getting there. We just got to make sure that we don't commit too many fouls early in the halves where they get in a bonus early, and that's really been a focus, coming out of the second half, not getting them in a bonus early. But, it's a lot of times it's just what you're battling on the road. We just got to find a way to overcome the adversity. And, if the refs are calling it, tighter, then we got to be a little bit, less aggressive with our hands. If the refs are being a little more loose and letting things away, then obviously you can get away with it. But you got to adjust, because every ref staff, every crew that does the games, they're all different, and you can't expect them to be the same, because coaches, we're all the same in regards to, giving refs sometimes too much of a hard time. But, you just got to play within what's being called in the game, and, we'll do that and make adjustments. We just got to foul less, in all honesty. I mean, we got to do better with our chests and our feet and less with our hands. So.
Stephen Ashworth has now inserted himself in the starting lineup as a starting point guard after Rylan Jones was injured and he's come back. Was that a decision based on the fact of what you've seen out of Ashworth, or was that out of something you said, Rylan right now coming off the bench helps us more?
Well, Coach just made the decision that when Rylan was out, obviously we didn't want that to happen. You don't want it to happen to anyone. It's, that's a member of your program, much less a valuable starter. But, Coach made the decision that, we had played pretty good on that stretch there, and he didn't want to disrupt it. And Rylan's a team player. He gets it. He wants to win. It's all he cares about. So, he made the decision that, at the moment, and there may be adjustments here as we move forward, game to game. And, I think that it's for us, it's just something that Coach decided that, as he wanted to stick with. Nothing wrong with Riley. He's still playing almost the same number of minutes. So, just like don't mess with it. That's kind of Coach's, he's been a lot like that through the years that I've been with him. He kind of sticks with guys. He doesn't like to mess with a routine. And, but Rylan's good with it. And Rylan, if something happens and Rylan needs to step back in, he's ready to go. And he's certainly done that, coming off the bench. So.
Coach Nate Dixon from Utah State men's basketball. Coach, I don't want to gloss by the season. There's still several games to be played. But if I can ask you, Utah is a unique situation as a someone who moved here myself. It's unique, and so in terms of the recruiting and stuff like that, how would you guys evaluate, or maybe how would you change what you do in year two as opposed to year one, coming into this just different setting sports world in terms of recruiting and such?
Well, I think here the guys that have had success have really not deviated much from the plan of, the kind of kids that fit the culture here and fit what Coach wants, and that's obviously, a mix of LDS mission kids that have come back and had great success here at Utah State. They're older, They're more mature. They understand it. They get what you're trying to do. They've grown up a little bit in life and had a great experience away. So they come back. They're a little older, and happy to play because they've been away from the game for a few years. They've had great success with that. They've had a great success with taking some high school kids, and then mixing in JUCOs here, and that's been the good balance. So, Coach's plan is to not deviate from it. The difference is that junior college now is almost Division I transfer portal. So, instead of going and taking a 2 or 3 year JUCO kid that can play, and make an impact, you hope right away, you can now, try to take kids from the transfer portal, which is essentially a junior college because they can play right away. So that's deviated recruiting a little bit and put a wrench in it for a lot of people. And, I actually have a soft spot because a lot of high school kids get left out right now with the way this thing's come about and with COVID. And, it's hard for kids that have worked their whole lives to get, an opportunity to try to play in college. And playing Division I all the way down to non-Division I to Division III's, it's hard. It's harder than kids think to get at one of those positions. And, we're not going to deviate. Coach is not going to deviate. He's going to try to take the best player that fits the culture, that fits Utah State, and, that really wants to win. Because that's really, at the end of the day, we want successful people on and off the court. We want high-character kids. And we want good basketball players. So.
And Coach, final question. Obviously, tomorrow is senior night. You're honors 3 of them. Horvath, Brock Miller, Justin Bean. I know you've only been able to spend 1 year with Bean and Miller, but what have you seen of those two and how much they've meant to Utah State University in the basketball program?
I really hope, and we said this as a staff, the last couple of nights we've been out recruiting a little bit, and I've seen some people that are, and I hate to say, but I just hope that this place is full tomorrow night. What those guys mean to this program is probably unheard of. Those 2 guys have come in here and won a lot of basketball games. They're certainly a leader on the court, off the court, in the community. You ask those guys to do anything on this campus or in this community, they're the first to do it. They're very well spoken. They were raised, by great families. And we've been blessed, to be honest with you, to be able to come here and just be one season of what they've brought to this university. It's actually unheard of, and it'll be a somewhat of an emotional night, even though we've only been around them, 9, 10 months, 11 months. It'll still be sad because you got to let those guys move on to the rest of their lives and careers with sports and their careers with their families, and but to say what they bring to this program, I don't know how you can even describe it in a word. It's just it's special what they've meant to this program. And, I think they value what the people before them meant to this program and what they brought. And I think those guys have certainly carried the torch on, and hopefully, someone else will follow.
No better way to wrap it up than right there. Coach, thank you so much for your time. Go Rays, hell tomorrow night. Good luck against Colorado State.
Thanks for your time. Go Aggies.
All right.
Thanks, Coach.